I'm Suzanne Sibylla. I'm the owner of Sibylla and Associates, which is the premier leadership and employee development company.
Overcome obstacles, reframe your reality, love life, and have growth goals. Change and shift your energy. Pivot.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Suzanne Sibylla, your host of Pivot Now, where we bring on interesting, exciting, and dynamic guests who will share with us their tips, tricks, and life and business hacks to help you pivot in your life. I am so excited to bring this guest on our show. He is absolutely amazing, and you're going to love him. So let me tell you a little bit about him. So he is a clinical psychologist and has a background working with children, families, couples, and you name it, right? He actually has a company. It's called Pivot Counseling Center, which is so cool. I mean, I just love that. So welcome to our show, Tim Yan. Welcome, Tim. Woo! We're finally here.
Thank you. We are finally here. So excited to finally do this with you.
Oh, I know. It's so great to see you on the show and so great to have you as a guest. So thank you so much for being here. So we want to find out more about pivoting, making those life transitions and career transitions. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I gave it some thought in terms of times where I've made major pivots as well as helping other people do the pivoting. And if I had to oversimplify, I would say there's like two major traits or attributes that are vital to pivoting. The first one, which most people would agree with, is some level of discontent. You're just like not satisfied with whatever it may be. You're just not satisfied. And so that's half of the battle. And I'm sure you know a lot of complainers, people that are not happy with things. There's no shortage of that. But there's a second half to it that's just as important, if not more, which would be some level of humility. And humility in saying that, whatever way that I've been doing things, that's just not working. And I need to be open to other possibilities in doing things a different way. So I would say those two combination of discontent and a willingness and openness to change, that's the secret sauce for making pivots in your life.
So then what would you say to someone that is feeling that way, feeling that sense of discontent, and doesn't know where to start or feels like they're stuck?
Yeah. So the discontent is a feeling, or it's an emotion that we have, and discontent can come in so many varieties of feelings. It could be anywhere from feeling really depressed, you could be frustrated, you could be bored, right? There could be a variety of expressions of discontent. And in my book, Choose Better, the Optimal Decision-Making Framework, I really take a lot of time to help our readers and the people that I coach and counsel to put words behind the feeling, to understand the why. And I say that there is no such thing as a bad feeling. There's just probably uncomfortable feelings, but there's no such thing as a bad feeling in a sense that it serves some sort of benefit to you. It's trying to signal something really important to you. And so I would say that's the first step, right? The first step is understanding what is the why, putting to words, articulating the why behind the what, which would be the discontentment.
So then what do you do after you find the why? Then how do you go about it? I mean, what do you do next?
Sure. So that's a very broad question because depending on what the feeling is and what the why is, you would have a different strategy to address that particular why. So if, let's say, for example, you had a friend who gets hangry, like they're just kind of in a bad mood. But if the reason why they're angry is because they're hungry, you would intervene by providing them food. But if they're angry because it's just poor time management and therefore they're just feeling this pressure of not being able to make it on time, then it would be talking about strategies to, do better with time management. So it's a broad question because that's why finding out the why is so crucial, because the strategy will change depending on what that why is.
Well, and this leads to our next part of our segment is we have this part called 3, 2, 1, go. And so I'd like to hear from you. Give us 3 tips, 2 tactics, if you will, or techniques, and 1 action item to pivot our lives forward.
Awesome. So I'm ready for these questions because I did my homework. So 3 things, 3 tips. The first one, which is beautifully tied into what I just said, right? Which is listen to the why behind your feelings, and that's the first step, because feelings hit us at 1/10, 1/100th of a second in terms of how fast it hits our brain. So it's something that you can't really ignore. So instead of avoiding it, it's leaning in and being curious about what these feelings are about. So that's the first one. Second one is be selective with what you focus on. And I know the CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, he said that the biggest competitor of his company is other things or people. Oh no, he said sleep. That's what it was. Sleep is the greatest competitor because it's taking people away from their attention watching Netflix and streaming. So I say all that because there are so many things, people, circumstances that are fighting for your attention. One could argue that your attention is actually one of your greatest commodities, like one of the greatest resources you have. So we want to be very, very picky on what you focus on, because I would argue what you focus on gets bigger, gets magnified, and it ultimately leads to your trajectory in life. And if you don't really like where you are at in one given sector, chances are we want to figure out what are you focusing on and making sure to pivot, right, to focus on the right things that move you in the direction you want to go. So that'll be the second one.
I
Third
love
one,
that. I love that. That gets a heart and
okay.
a flame, Tim. I love
Oh,
that
thank
so
you.
much because I think that is so true. Is what we focus on, we give energy to, right? And
Yes.
it enlarges. So I love that. I
Hmm.
love that point. And what's your
Awesome.
next point? What's your next
All right,
tip?
number three. Number three is make decisions based on your values.
Mm,
So again, that's where the counseling, the coaching work is so vital, because a lot of times we kind of live life with this kind of vague understanding of what we value, what's important, or what society or our parents have told us are important, but we haven't really sat down to ask the question, what matters to me? Right? What matters to me and why? And hopefully for many of us, living a life of integrity is one of those values, being true to who you are and what matters. And living a great life, an optimal life, is having decisions that are supported by those values. And people who live out of integrity, kind of incongruent to those values, tend to live lives that are suboptimal. So that would be the third one, right? Is making clear to know why you're deciding whatever you're deciding. Is it aligned with your values?
love that as well. Again, another heart and flame, another heart and flame. And so, how I got to have a follow up question on this one. I know we're going to
Of
techniques
course,
as well.
yeah.
My follow up question on that is, how do you find your values, and what are values?
Yeah, so values is just another fancy word for what is meaningful, what matters to you, what gives your life purpose. And there are some universal values that, psychologists, researchers, people that have kind of done a deep dive on this topic of purpose and meaning have found. And one of the most universal ones is living a life that is bigger than yourself, right? Being a part of a cause that is bigger than yourself. Viktor Frankl, I think, is one of those people who's really big on that concept. And so things of that nature. And again, none of us come into this world with some sort of manual of, hey, this is your life's purpose, this is what you're called to do it and you'll be fulfilled. So a lot of it has to do with having the courage to explore, to try things. And again, working with a coach, a psychologist, it helps start that conversation. And a lot of times, by the time you start having this conversation, you already have many, many years of life experience, which means there's a bunch of data points on why you decided to choose whatever you chose, and being able to kind of distill the values from the choices that you made allows you to see patterns, trends, things of that nature. And you get to decide, is that something that you want to replicate moving forward and do even bigger? Or is it something that you don't want to replicate because it may reflect a value, but it's done in an unhealthy, counterfeit way? And that's what's getting you in trouble. So, how can we meet those needs and wants in a healthy way? And maybe that's the conversation of figuring out the action steps behind the values and identifying what those are.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think it's so important to find out what is important to oneself. Like what is it that you really value in your life? I mean, is it
Yeah.
family? Is it competition? Is it moving up in the world? Is it having a peaceful life? I mean, what is it that you're really wanting in your life? And how can you create that kind of life that you want so that you can have the best life, right? So I think that is
Well
so
said.
important to really look at what is important to yourself. So when we're talking about the techniques, can you tell us a little bit more about, give us 2 tips or techniques?
Yeah. So, two techniques that are in alignment with those 3 tips. The first one is increasing your emotional intelligence. And by
Mm,
doing that, it means that you, one, have to be able to learn how to identify the feelings that are coming up for you, but also know, the why behind those emotions. And thanks to the work of Dr. Paul Ekman and many people in kind of this emotion space, there are such things as universal emotions across cultures, across ages, demographics. And the big 7, I believe, is sad, mad, glad, fear, disgust, surprise, contempt. Those are kind of the universal 6 or 7. And each of them have a why, kind of like a function behind why those emotions exist. For example, right, anger has a lot to do with justice. If you think about the times that you've been angry, it's because something doesn't feel fair, something doesn't feel right, and that's why anger emerges. And so being able to ask that question, in this situation, what's unfair to me? Like what feels wrong to me? I think being able to ask the right questions in conjunction with the feelings gets you that much closer to the heart of what's really going on, which is the first pillar of my choose better framework. So that's the first one, is get the lingo, figure out the why behind these emotions, and it's already there. The research is already there. It's taking the time to learn it. So that's the first one. The second one is going back to values, identifying your values. People call the passions test. I don't know if you ever heard
mm,
that concept
mhm,
before.
mhm.
Yeah, the passions test, which is, again, this gets a little bit new agey perhaps, but this idea of like where is there more energy around certain things. So maybe for me, like gardening, it just doesn't do it for me. Like I have very little energy around that. I mean, I love the
Uh-huh.
crops that come from gardening, but to actually go in and be with the soil and like it just, I don't have a lot of energy around that. But when it comes to leadership development, hearing people's stories, oh, I just come alive. Like those are things that I really enjoy and I find meaningful. So just doing a passions test, kind of on an inventory of your life. Okay, maybe that's too broad. Maybe an inventory of your week.
Uh-huh.
Think about your week and think about all the activities that you do. And give yourself maybe a rating from 1 to 10, where 10 being like you have a lot of strong energy around this, 1 being no energy, it's just a chore. And I think just going through an inventory of where you have the most energy around certain activities, that could help you identify what those values may be. So it's just having a deeper conversation about
Yeah,
those
I love
things.
that. I love that technique actually, because I use that with my clients as well, and I call it energizers and drainers.
Mm-hmm.
So look
There it
at
is.
what energizes you, especially during the week. Like, is it, doing the administrative tasks? That really is a drainer for me, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What energizes me is talking to people, right? That really energizes me, or coaching others, or listening, like you said, to other people's stories, or leadership development. Those are things that energize me. So really looking at your whole list of items, like what is it that really gets you up in the morning? Like you're just so, wow, so gung ho about, so passionate about. Those are your energizers. And you want to have that in your life, right? On a
That's right.
continuous basis. I remember
Yes.
someone said, because on Fridays, I have this thing where I call it Friday Fun Days. And so I take the day off actually on Fridays.
I love it.
And I do
Good for
things
you.
that are fun. I get together with friends. We go out for lunch. We go for a walk. We get exercise, things that are fun. And a friend of mine said, this is actually last week, she said, you need to make Friday Fun Days every day. And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't need to be like, the whole day, but something like 15 minutes or a half hour. Incorporate fun in your daily living, right? Because then
I love it.
that brings the joy back. That brings the
I love
joy, the
it.
laughter, the fun. We all need fun in our life.
Yes. Yeah. I guess that's what people mean by work-life balance, right? It's like,
Yeah,
hey, I
exactly.
understand there is work. Like, you're not going to love everything that needs to be done. You probably will like the outcomes of the things that require work, but in terms of the energy, quality of life, having some sort of balance every single day will make your life feel richer. That you just
Yes,
want to be around more because
exactly.
there's life
Exactly.
energizers, as you said, in every
Yep.
day of your life.
Yep. So give us one action item to pivot our lives forward.
So the action item I have for your audience is identifying your next small step and act. Right, your next small step and act. And there's a famous proverb. It's kind of like a riddle. It's like a riddle proverb that goes something like, "How do you eat an elephant?" And the answer is one bite at a time, right? So when we
Mm,
think about elephants, they're huge. And so everyone automatically thinks no one's mouth is that big. There's no way
uh-huh.
you can eat the whole elephant unless you're a dinosaur. I don't know. Even dinosaurs, I don't think could eat a whole elephant. So people get overwhelmed, right? When they think about their goals, they think about where they want to be. Sometimes that big picture excites but paralyzes us. And so when the vision is set and you have some kind of vague idea of where you want to be in your life, it's just identifying that small step. So maybe one of the goals is I want to exercise more, but then your brain goes straight to like, oh my gosh, is that like 5 days at the gym? I have to wake up at 5 in the morning. Like just thinking about all that. Uh, Maybe I'll start next week. Like I just
Right.
don't even want to
Yep.
go. But when we take it from a one small step, one bite at a time approach, it's like, hey, maybe it's just getting in the rhythm of showing up at the gym. That's it. You don't even have to work out. Just show up at the gym, check in, right? And then if you are gutsy enough to turn around in your gym clothes and leave the gym, hey, that's still a win for you. But most people, right, once they're in that environment, they hear the music pumping, everyone else is working out. It's a little bit easier to follow through, which I guess is part of the the, the action item is creating an environment that makes it easier for you to do the right thing. There's certain environments full of distractions. I mean, you need a lot of willpower to
Uh-huh.
do the right thing. But sometimes if you're able to create these systems where it's actually harder to do the wrong thing, then most of us kind of fall back to, well, I might as well just do the right thing, the thing that's going to be good for me, the thing that's aligned with my values. So that's kind of the tip is keep it small. Keep it small so that you can be consistent and it's really the momentum, right? Life is a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's these
Yes,
small
yes,
steps.
yes. Again, another fire and hearts. I love it. I love it. I love it, Tim. So cool. I always say that to my clients too, is because a lot of times, especially in the beginning of the year, right? I mean, now we're into almost March, right? March is tomorrow.
Hmm.
But a lot of times, my clients will say, well, I'm going to, I want to get into fitness. I really want to lose weight. I really want
Yeah.
to, elevate my career. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's, way too
All
many
at
things
once.
all at once,
Yeah.
right? So pick
That's
one
right.
item and take that small step forward, right? And then you start
That's
feeling
it.
like, oh, the momentum is coming, and you start building confidence. Like you go to the gym
Yes.
one day and it's like, wow, I feel really great. And then you go the next day and it's like, wow, I feel really great, right? So just do it like 2 times a week. Don't say I'm going to go every day to the gym, because
Right.
that
Don't do
gets
that
to
to
be so
yourself.
overwhelming, right? Just pick
Hmm.
one thing that you're going to do and follow through on that. So excellent, excellent advice. Love it. And so, where can we find you, Tim? And also tell us a little bit more about your book and where we can find you and your book.
Yeah, so the book is on most book publishers, wherever you buy your books, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, things of that nature. It's called Choose Better, the Optimal Decision Making Framework. And it's a very light read. I would say it's a pretty easy read for most. I'm all about helping people make authentic, powerful, decisive decisions. And so I do my best to model that in my book, sharing pieces of my life, right, where I've gone wrong, and how did I pivot, right, from those decisions. But just creating a framework, right, just a framework of asking these simple 4 or 5 questions that I believe everyone can ask themselves that will get them much more laser focused on making great decisions. So you can pick that book up wherever books are sold. And in terms of finding me, I have 2 websites. The one I'm currently using is under my name, www.timian.com. You can contact me, see all the cool things that we're doing in our company. But I also have a new website that's being launched that will be out very soon. So I'm just going to put it out to your audience. It's www.pivot-co.com. And so that one's going to be launched probably in the next few weeks. So yeah, either of those websites, you'll be able to find me, and all my social media links are on those websites.
And we'll have all your social media links as well, after the show too, so people can connect with you. I love that your company is called Pivot Co. That's just so
It
it's
was meant
so
to be.
cool,
When we
right?
connected, I was like, we have to talk. We have
I
to make
know
this happen.
exactly, exactly. It's like I'm the pivot queen and you're the pivot king, I guess.
There it
So I
is.
think
Yes, we're all helping
so
people
great.
pivot. That's it.
Exactly, exactly. Making that pivot. So that's so cool. Well, thanks so much for being on our show. We really greatly appreciate you and all the advice you've given us and all those tips and tricks and gold nuggets. We really appreciate you, Tim. You get a heart and fire. So thank you so much. And to all of our audience, we appreciate you. We're here every week, every Tuesday, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Live life abundantly. Pivot now. Change and shift your energy. Pivot